Welcome back to Men and the City. Coming to you today from a beautiful park, beautiful walkway in the Palermo neighborhood in Buenos Aires. You can see it is quite a spectacular day out, and I'll tell you what, guys, it's hard to beat the weather, and it's hard to beat a city like Buenos Aires. I highly recommend you come here if you get a chance. Anyway, in today's short video, we're going to talk about a principle that I adhere to, that I apply all the time, and that is control the space. So I was out with a couple of younger guys a night or so ago. They're both, I want to say, 27. And so, of course, in the course of our discussion, we talked about a lot of things. We talked about money, we talked about politics, but of course we talked about women. And controlling the space is not a principle necessarily that's specific to how you interact with females. In fact, I think in a broader sense, it applies in general, in business, in politics, in your social life in general. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what that means, what it means to control the space. When you're a younger man and you're vigorous, you have vitality, you're ambitious, you're aggressive, you have a tendency to overshare, or you have a tendency to sort of lean in. And I mean that quite literally. When you watch younger men on dates, for instance, or even in the corporate world in a meeting, some capacity, you'll see a lot of guys, they sort of talk too much. They're a little bit too loud, and with their body language, they almost lean in to the conversation at hand. And as a rule of thumb, gentlemen, that's a mistake. And the reason is because when you interact with people, the most important thing that you can do is you can create space. So think of the space between you and the other people, the distance between you and the person you're talking to. Think of that as sort of the neutral zone. Well, masculinity is not necessarily about taking up space, as a lot of people say, or asserting yourself, or sort of bullying others. Those things happen and they can work in certain circumstances, but really it's about controlling the space. And oftentimes that means that you yield territory, that you almost allow others to fill the space. And then by doing so, what happens is people become more comfortable. They sort of relax, and they may be more receptive to you without you having said a word. That's what I mean. So again, you want to control the space in a sense by just controlling yourself and pulling back instead of launching forward. This also applies when you're having a discussion with people that's somewhat contentious. Let's say it's a political discussion and passions are high. Let the other person lead the discussion. Let them fill the space. And something that's very noticeable when you start to do this is that so many people feel they need to be heard. They feel nobody listens to them. And so there's so much energy, there's so much information that they need to get out. So a good rule of thumb is just let them vent, let them get that energy out of their system, and you will, in some sense, quite literally see them exhaust themselves. I mean, they'll almost run out of breath because they have so many things to say. And so if you let them say it, they will relax. Their breathing will regulate. All of a sudden, you'll have a little bit more balance and equilibrium, and then you can respond. Then you can actually weigh in and have a lot more persuasive power and authority in the conversation. So again, create space by controlling yours. Yield territory. Make sure that that neutral zone between you and the other person is unoccupied, so that the other person can fill it and feel more comfortable. And that's when the conversation or the meeting or the date will shift in your favor. Stay tuned for more, and we'll talk soon.